I was about to fall. But the Foxy girl saved me with her magic. What happened next was unbelievable that night. Did not start as something special. It felt like many other nights in his life, quiet on the outside but heavy inside his chest. He had been carrying too much stress for too long. Work was not going well, money problems kept growing, and people he trusted had slowly walked away. He did not talk about his pain with anyone. He smiled during the day and stayed silent at night. Over time, that silence became dangerous. He walked alone under the dark sky, his hands deep in his jacket pockets. The cold air hit his face, but it did not wake him up from his thoughts. His mind kept replaying old failures, broken promises, and moments where he wished he had chosen differently. Every step felt heavier than the last. He was not looking for trouble, but he also was not trying to stay safe. At that moment, he felt like nothing mattered. The path he chose was not a good one. It was narrow, uneven, and poorly lit. Most people avoided it at night, but he did not care. He was not thinking clearly. His shoes scraped against loose stones as he walked closer to the edge. The wind picked up slightly, and the silence around him felt strange, almost watching him. Still, he kept walking, lost in his thoughts. Suddenly his foot slipped. It happened faster than he could understand. One moment, he was walking, and the next moment, his body tilted forward. His heart jumped, and panic rushed through him. His arms moved on their own, trying to grab something, anything. But there was nothing solid nearby. The ground felt like it disappeared beneath him. In that short moment, his mind went completely clear. All the noise inside his head stopped. There was no past, no future, only fear. He realized how close he was to losing everything. His breath caught in his throat, and his body froze. He thought, this is how it ends. Time felt slow, like the world had decided to pause. Just as his body started to fall, something strange happened. A sudden warmth surrounded him, gentle but strong. It did not feel like hands, yet it held him firmly. The fear inside him cracked, replaced by shock. His fall stopped, as if the air itself had become solid. He opened his eyes wider, struggling to understand what was happening. In front of him stood a girl he had never seen before. She looked human at first glance, but something about her was different. Her eyes were calm and deep, not shocked or afraid like his. Her movements were smooth, almost too smooth, as if she was not affected by the world the same way. Soft, fox-like features blended naturally with her appearance, not frightening, not unreal, just unexpected. Her presence felt warm, safe, and strangely familiar. She did not panic. She did not shout. She simply looked at him as if she had been waiting. The air around them felt still. The wind stopped. The noise of the world faded. He could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. He tried to speak, but no words came out. His body trembled, not from the cold, but from disbelief. Without touching him, in a normal way, she guided him back onto stable ground. His feet found balance again, and his body leaned away from danger. The moment his weight shifted safely, the pressure holding him eased. He stumbled back, breathing hard, his legs weak. He turned fully toward her, his mind racing. "Who?" he tried to say, but his voice was barely a sound. The fox-like girl met his eyes for a brief second. In that look, he felt something he had not felt in a long time: understanding. Not pity, not judgment, just understanding. As if she knew his pain without him explaining anything. Then, just like that, she stepped back. The warmth disappeared. The silence broke. The wind returned, cold against his skin. In a blink, she was gone. No footsteps, no sound, no sign that anyone had been there. He stood frozen, staring at the empty space where she had been. His hands shook as he pressed them against his chest, feeling his heart racing. His legs felt weak, and he slowly sat down on the ground, trying to breathe normally. What just happened? He whispered to himself. He looked around wildly. The path was empty. No lights, no people, no movement. Everything looked normal, too normal. If his clothes were not dusty and his hands not trembling, he might have believed it was all in his head. But the feeling remained. He knew one thing for sure: he had been saved. For several minutes he stayed there, replaying the moment again and again. Every detail felt clear. Her eyes, the calm on her face, the way fear disappeared the instant she appeared. This was not a dream. He had not imagined it. His body still remembered the moment of falling and the moment of being stopped. Slowly he stood up and stepped away from the edge. This time, he was careful. Every step felt different now, like life had given him a warning and a gift at the same time. As he walked back home, his thoughts changed. The heavy darkness inside him felt cracked, not gone, but lighter. Questions filled his mind. Who was she? Why was she there? Why him? More than anything, one thought would not leave him. If she had not appeared, everything would have ended that night. He reached his home and closed the door behind him, leaning against it as if his body had finally accepted what happened. He slid down to the floor and covered his face with his hands. A quiet, shaky breath escaped him, not fear this time, but relief. That night, he did not sleep well. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her standing in front of him, calm and silent. But unlike nightmares, the memory did not scare him. It stayed with him like a reminder. He had been given another chance, and he had no idea what that chance would cost, or what it would lead to next. The next morning, the world seemed almost normal, but he felt different. Everything around him, the sunlight falling on his room, the sound of birds outside, the smell of breakfast cooking in the building below, was sharper somehow. His mind could not stop replaying the events from the night before. He kept thinking about her, the fox-like girl who had saved him. Who was she? How could someone appear like that, almost magical, and then vanish without a trace? He tried to tell himself it was a dream. Maybe he had fallen asleep on the edge of the path and imagined it all, but deep inside, he knew it was real. His clothes were still dusty from where he had stumbled. His knees still hurt from the fall, and the strange warmth he had felt, the sense of calm and safety, was impossible to explain. Days passed, but the memory of that night did not fade. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her standing there, quiet and calm, with her fox-like features blending naturally with her human appearance. She was strange, but not frightening. She felt gentle. Her presence made him feel alive in a way he had not felt for a long time. The thought of her lingered in his mind constantly and slowly. He began to notice strange coincidences in his daily life. He was walking to work one morning when he dropped his wallet without noticing. It would have fallen into a puddle, soaking all his money and cards. But somehow a hand appeared and caught it just before it hit the ground. He looked up quickly, expecting to see someone there, but no one was around. Just the empty street. He shrugged it off, thinking he had imagined it, but it gave him the same strange feeling of being watched, protected, like the night on the path. Later, he began having dreams about her. Not nightmares, but vivid dreams where he could see her face clearly. Sometimes she was standing in the forest, other times on the same path where she had saved him. She never spoke, but her eyes seemed to tell him something important. Every time he woke up, he felt a little lighter, a little braver, even though he could not explain why. One evening, unable to hold back his curiosity, he returned to the narrow path where he had almost fallen. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the stones, and the wind carried a chill that made him shiver. The place looked exactly the same as the night before, but he felt different. His steps were careful now, every stone and every loose piece of gravel underfoot, making him alert. He remembered how close he had been to falling, how she had appeared without a sound, saving him at the exact moment. He walked slowly, scanning every corner, every shadow. He called out softly, almost hoping she would answer. "Are you there?" His voice sounded small in the quiet evening, swallowed by the trees and the wind. He waited, but no one came. Just as he was about to turn away, a small movement caught his eye. A flash of orange near the trees at the edge of the path. He froze. His heart started racing. Could it be her? He stepped closer, careful not to make a sound. The flash disappeared, leaving only the shadows and the rustling leaves. He felt both disappointment and relief, as if he had seen something real but was not yet ready to believe it fully. Over the next few weeks, began noticing more unusual things. Doors that he thought were locked would open when he touched them. Small accidents that could have hurt him never happened. People seemed kinder to him, strangers offering help at the right moments. Slowly, he realized that something had changed in his life, though he could not explain exactly what. It felt as if invisible hands were guiding him, keeping him safe, leading him toward something he could not yet understand. One night, a week after the first encounter, he had a dream unlike the others. In this dream, he was standing at the edge of a cliff again, about to fall. Panic filled him as it had the first night. Then, she appeared not quietly this time, but with a soft glow surrounding her. She reached out, not touching him directly, but her presence alone stopped him from falling. This time, she spoke. Not with words he could hear, but with the sense that her voice was inside his mind. "You have been given a second chance," she seemed to say. "Life is fragile, but it is also full of opportunities. You must be careful, but you must also act." He woke up with a start, heart pounding, sweat on his forehead. The dream felt so real that he could still feel her hand guiding him, her calm presence surrounding him. He realized that this was not just a one-time event. She had saved him for a reason, and now she was trying to teach him something important. The more he thought about it, the more he understood that her magic was not about superpowers or miracles. It was about protection, timing, and guidance. She had appeared at the exact moment he needed her, and even in his dreams. She was showing him paths to avoid danger and choices that could lead to a better life. It was subtle, quiet, almost invisible, but undeniable. He started changing small things in his life. He stopped going to dangerous places alone. He paid more attention to the people around him. He listened to his instincts instead of ignoring them. Slowly, he began noticing improvements, better luck, safer moments, and a calm confidence growing inside him. Then, one evening, he saw her again. Not in a dream, not in a fleeting shadow, but in real life. She was standing at the edge of the path, looking toward him. Her fox-like ears twitched slightly, and her eyes held the same calm and understanding as before. She did not speak, but she nodded at him, as if acknowledging his efforts. For the first time, he felt a connection, not just awe or fear. He wanted to ask questions, so many questions, but something told him to be patient. She had saved him once, guided him in dreams, and now she appeared again. He felt that if he approached her too quickly, he might scare her away or miss the purpose of this encounter. Days turned into weeks, and he found himself returning to that place again and again, sometimes hoping to see her, sometimes just walking the path he had once almost fallen from. Each time he returned, small signs appeared, flowers growing where none had before, leaves moving in unusual patterns, faint paths in the grass leading him safely forward. He began to understand that she was still there, protecting him in ways he could not always see. One day he tried something new. He left a small note near the path, simple and honest. "Thank you. I don't know who you are, but I am grateful." He did not expect her to see it or even to respond, but the act itself felt like a small step toward understanding her purpose. When he returned the next day, the note was gone, replaced by a single orange leaf lying neatly where the note had been. It was a quiet message, subtle but powerful. She had noticed, and she had acknowledged him. This encounter changed him more than anything else had in his life. He realized that life was not just about surviving, but about paying attention, being aware, and learning from the moments that could save him. She had saved him once physically, and now she was saving him mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The fox-like girl became more than a stranger in his mind. She became a symbol of hope, of second chances, and of the mysterious ways life could intervene when someone needed it most. He began sharing his story quietly with friends, not expecting anyone to believe him, but hoping that even the idea of such a protector could inspire someone else to pay attention to the small miracles in their own life. Weeks later, he realized something important. She had not just saved him from falling, she had saved him from giving up on life. The lessons he learned from her presence, the careful attention, the hope in small signs, the belief in guidance, were shaping him into someone who could face challenges without despair. He was stronger, not because of magic, but because he had learned to see the invisible helping hands that sometimes appear in the world. Even now, he could not explain everything about her. Her appearance was impossible, her presence unreal in the ordinary world. Yet he knew what he felt was real: safety, guidance, and the quiet, undeniable truth that someone or something was looking out for him, and deep down, he knew that this was only the beginning. Her first appearance had been urgent, immediate, and necessary. Now, as he walked the path again, aware of her quiet presence, he understood that their connection was ongoing. She had saved him once, but her purpose was greater. She was showing him that life could be fragile, magical, and meaningful all at once. He could not wait to see what would happen next. After weeks of seeing strange signs and fleeting glimpses of the fox-like girl, he could no longer ignore the pull she had on his life. Every day, he found himself thinking about her, about the way she had saved him, and about the lessons he seemed to be learning without fully understanding them. It was as if life itself had shifted slightly, and he was being guided along a path that had been invisible before. He began returning to the path where she had first appeared, not just at night, but at different times of the day. Sometimes he arrived at dawn when the world was quiet and soft with morning light. Other times he came at dusk, when shadows stretched across the narrow trail, twisting into shapes that made his imagination run wild. Each visit was different, yet something always felt the same: the sense that she was near, watching, waiting, quietly guiding him. At first he thought it was all in his mind. Perhaps the stress, the fear, and the shock of almost falling had left him seeing things that were not real. But as he spent more time on the path, small coincidences began to happen, things too precise to be accidents. A loose stone that could have caused him to stumble would move away just in time. A fallen branch that could have tripped him seemed to shift as he approached. Even animals in the area behaved unusually. Birds would fly overhead as if guiding him, and squirrels paused to watch him pass. One afternoon he brought a notebook with him. He wanted to write down everything he noticed, every small miracle, every strange feeling, every dream about her. He wrote about the dreams where she appeared, standing at the edge of cliffs or in forests, her eyes calm but full of meaning. He wrote about the strange coincidences that seemed to keep him safe. Writing it down made it feel more real. Each word confirmed that what he had seen was not a dream or a hallucination. He also began paying more attention to himself. Before, he had moved through life almost automatically, ignoring warning signs, rushing through tasks, and avoiding thinking about the consequences of his actions. Now every step felt deliberate. He slowed down, noticed the small details around him, and thought about the choices he was making. He felt as if the fox-like girl had not just saved his body that night, but had opened his mind to a new way of seeing the world. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky turned orange, he saw her again. This time, she did not appear suddenly to save him. Instead, she was standing across a small clearing, partially hidden behind the trees. She looked toward him and held her gaze for a long moment. He froze, unsure of what to do. Should he approach her? Should he stay still? Should he call out? Finally, he decided to take a cautious step forward. She did not move. She remained calm, watching him as he closed the distance slowly. He could see her features more clearly now, the subtle fox-like shape of her ears, the quiet intelligence in her eyes, and the way she seemed completely at ease in the world, while he felt every heartbeat thundering in his chest. When he was only a few feet away, she finally spoke, but not with her mouth. The voice was soft, almost like it was coming from inside his mind. "You are learning," she said. "You are seeing what most people cannot. You are noticing the signs, and you are choosing carefully. That is why you are still here." He swallowed, trying to understand her words. "Why? Why me?" he asked aloud, though his voice sounded small. "Why did you save me? Why are you helping me?" She tilted her head slightly as if considering his question. "Because you were ready to give up," she said. "Because the world has many paths, but not everyone sees them clearly. I do not interfere without reason. I only intervene when a choice could change a life forever. That night you were on the edge, and now you are learning to walk the path carefully. Her words struck him deeply. He had never thought of it that way. He had always believed that survival was simply about luck or chance, but she was teaching him something different. She was showing him that life could be guided, that attention and awareness mattered, and that even invisible forces could play a role in shaping one's journey. For the first time, he felt a strong sense of purpose. The fear that had consumed him in the weeks before seemed to fade slightly, replaced by curiosity and determination. If she was guiding him, then perhaps he could learn to guide himself. Perhaps he could understand the signs and make better choices, not just for survival, but for living fully. Over the next few days, he began testing this idea. He walked paths he had once avoided, noticing every detail. He paid attention to sounds, movements, and even the direction of the wind. Sometimes he would catch a flicker of orange in the corner of his eye and turn, but nothing would be there. Other times he would feel a sudden warmth or a gentle breeze that seemed to push him forward or away from danger. Each experience made him more aware, more alert, and strangely more alive. He also began keeping a routine of reflection each evening. He would sit quietly in his room, think about the day, and write down what he noticed. He wrote about the people he met, the choices he made, and the small signs he felt guiding him. Each entry in his notebook became a record of growth, of learning to see the world differently then. One night, something extraordinary happened. He had returned to the path late, after a long day of work. The moonlight illuminated the trail, casting silver shadows across the uneven stones. He walked carefully, aware of every movement beneath his feet. Suddenly, a sound caught his attention, a soft, rhythmic noise, like footsteps, but lighter than human steps. He froze and looked around. From the shadows, she emerged again. This time, she did not save him from falling. Instead, she simply stood there, watching him. He felt a wave of relief and awe wash over him. He realized that she had been with him all along, guiding him without interfering directly, letting him grow stronger, more aware. "More capable, you are ready," she said, her voice calm and clear in his mind. "You are learning to see the world, to notice what others miss. You are beginning to understand that life is fragile, but also full of possibility. You are not the same person you were that night." He nodded, unable to speak. Her words felt heavy with meaning, but also comforting. For the first time, he felt truly seen, not judged, not pitied, but understood. She was teaching him a language of life that he had never known existed, a language of awareness, caution, and subtle guidance. Over the next few weeks, he noticed even more changes in himself. He became more careful in his daily life, but also more confident. He no longer rushed through his work or ignored small details. He noticed the moods of the people around him, the subtle changes in the weather, the tiny signals in the environment that could indicate danger or opportunity. Life felt sharper, more alive, and more meaningful. He also began noticing the emotional impact of her guidance. Moments that would have made him anxious or fearful before now felt manageable. He learned to pause, to breathe, and to trust his instincts. He realized that the fox-like girl had not just saved his life physically, she had been guiding him toward emotional and mental strength as well. One day, as he walked the path in the afternoon sunlight, he caught a glimpse of her again, standing on a small hill nearby. This time, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. He wanted to thank her, to ask her questions, to understand everything about who she was and why she had chosen him. But he also felt a strange sense of patience. He knew that her timing was perfect, and that he was learning not just from her appearances, but from the space she left behind. He realized that the most important lesson was not about her, but about himself. She had shown him that life could be guided, that awareness mattered, and that second chances were rare and precious. He had been given a gift, and it was now his responsibility to live carefully, to notice the invisible signs, and to grow stronger every day. As he walked back home that evening, he felt a quiet determination settle over him. The path had become more than a place of danger. It was now a place of learning, of reflection, and of subtle magic. He could feel her presence, not always visible, but always there. guiding him, teaching him, letting him grow. He knew one thing for certain: his life would never be the same. The girl who had saved him had opened a door he could not yet see fully, but he was walking through it step by step. And as long as he kept moving forward, paying attention, and learning from the signs around him, he knew he would be ready for whatever came next. And deep inside, he felt that the story was far from over. The fox-like girl had more to show him, more guidance to offer, and more lessons to teach. He was ready to follow, to notice, and to grow. The path was no longer just a trail near a cliff, had become a journey of discovery, courage, and understanding. Days turned into weeks, and he continued to return to the path, feeling her presence more strongly each time. Something had changed inside him. The fear and confusion that had once dominated his life were slowly replaced with curiosity and determination. He wanted to understand why she had chosen to appear in his life, why she had saved him, and why he felt that the lessons she was giving him mattered more than anything he had ever learned before. One evening, the sky was painted in shades of deep purple and gold as the sun began to set. The path was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes every sound feel amplified. He walked carefully, noticing every detail: the way the branches swayed with the wind, the distant call of a bird, the subtle crunch of leaves under his feet. He had learned to pay attention to everything. The world had become sharper, and he could feel the life in every small moment. As he rounded a bend in the path, he finally saw her. She was standing in a small clearing, the fading sunlight brushing her features with a soft glow. This time, she did not hide or move away. She looked directly at him, and for the first time, he felt as if she was inviting him to come closer. He hesitated for a moment, then took careful steps forward. His heart raced, but it was not fear, this was anticipation. The kind that comes before discovering something life-changing. When he was close enough to stand in front of her, he noticed details he had not seen before. Her eyes were calm but intense, like she could see everything about him, his past, his fears, and his potential. Her fox-like features, delicate and strange, seemed more real than ever, blending perfectly with her human appearance. "You have been coming here often," she said, her voice gentle but firm, speaking directly into his mind as she had before. "You have been learning, observing, and noticing the world in ways most people never do. That is why I am here now, to speak with you." He nodded, unable to speak immediately. Words felt inadequate, but his mind raced with questions. "Why me?" he finally asked. "Why did you save me? Why did you choose to guide me?" Her gaze softened slightly. "Because your life matters. Not because it is special or extraordinary, but because you are at a point where a choice can change everything. Many people reach a moment like the one you experienced and ignore it. They continue carelessly, and the opportunity to learn, to grow, to change is lost. You were ready to fall, but now you are ready to rise." He listened carefully, feeling the weight of her words. He realized that she was not just guiding him for her own reasons, but for his. She was helping him understand the value of life, the importance of choices, the responsibility that comes with second chances. "What do you mean, ready to rise?" he asked. She took a step closer, and he felt a warmth radiate from her, comforting and steady. "You have been given a second chance," she explained. "Not everyone receives one. You have been saved so that you can see the path clearly, so that you can grow stronger, wiser, and more aware. Life will not always be easy, and danger is always present, but you now have the ability to face it. You must use it carefully." Her words were simple, yet they carried a weight that made him feel both humble and determined. He realized that the lessons he had learned, the attention to small signs, the awareness of danger, the care in his choices, were all part of a greater purpose. She was not just protecting him. She was teaching him how to protect himself, and perhaps one day others. "You're saying this was all for me?" he asked, trying to grasp the full meaning. "Yes," she replied. "And for those whose paths you may cross in the future." Life is connected in ways most people do not understand. One act, one choice, can ripple outward and change many lives. You were saved so that you could become a guide, a protector, or simply a person who notices what others overlook. That is why your life is important. He felt a surge of emotion. He had spent so long feeling invisible, powerless, and lost. Now, for the first time, he understood that his life had purpose, that he could influence the world in small but meaningful ways. The realization was overwhelming, but it also filled him with hope. For the next hour, they stood together in silence. The wind whispered through the trees, the leaves shimmered in the fading sunlight, and the world felt suspended, as if waiting for him to fully understand. He did not want to speak, fearing that words would fail to capture what he felt. Instead, he focused on her presence, absorbing the calm, the guidance, and the quiet power she radiated. Finally, she spoke again. "There is more you must learn," she said. "Life will not always provide a clear sign or a second chance. Sometimes, you must act without guidance, relying on what you have learned. That is why I have appeared for you to teach you how to notice, how to choose, and how to survive in ways that are not obvious. You will be tested, but you will also grow stronger." He nodded, feeling the truth of her words. He understood that this was not just about being saved from a fall. This was about learning how to navigate life itself. The small lessons, the subtle signs, the attention to the world, they were all preparing him for a future he had not yet imagined. "Will I see you again?" he asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. She smiled faintly. "Perhaps. But even if you do not remember what I have shown you, the path is always there, even when I am not. Trust your instincts, notice the signs, and make choices carefully. That is how you will continue to grow and protect yourself and others." He felt a strange sense of peace. For the first time, he realized that her guidance was not about her presence alone. It was about what she had taught him to notice, feel, and understand. She had given him tools, not just rescue. They stood together until the last light of the sun disappeared, the sky turning deep blue and the first stars appearing. Then quietly, she stepped back and disappeared into the shadows. He blinked and she was gone, leaving only the faint scent of something earthy and wild in the air, a reminder that she had been there, and that her lessons were now his to carry as he walked home that night. He reflected on everything she had told him. He understood that life had given him a second chance, but it was up to him to use it wisely. The world was fragile, full of unexpected dangers and opportunities, and he now had the ability to see both. He realized that his path had changed forever. The next days were filled with small tests. He noticed situations where his decisions mattered more than ever, helping a stranger avoid a dangerous situation, stepping carefully to prevent accidents, paying attention to details that most people overlooked. Each time he felt the guidance she had given him subtly influencing his choices. He did not see her, but he felt her lessons in every step he took. Slowly, his life began to improve. He made better decisions, avoided unnecessary risks, and developed a calm confidence he had never felt before. People began to notice the change in him. Friends commented that he seemed more aware, more present, more grounded. He realized that her lessons were not just about survival. They were about becoming a better, stronger person, capable of noticing and responding to the world in ways that others could not. He also began reflecting more deeply on the first. He understood that it had not been an accident. The fall, the fear, the sudden intervention, they had all been carefully orchestrated to teach him the value of attention, presence, and second chances. That moment had changed everything, and her continued guidance had reinforced the lessons in ways he could now apply to his daily life. The fox-like girl had not only saved him physically, but had guided him emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. He understood that her purpose was not to remain with him, but to teach him how to survive, grow, and notice the unseen. Her magic, he realized, was subtle, quiet, and powerful. It was the kind of magic that prepared someone to face life fully, without fear, and with awareness of the impact of their choices. By the end of the month, he felt transformed. He walked the path with confidence, noticing every detail, trusting his instincts, and understanding that his life now carried meaning. He no longer feared the unknown. Instead, he felt ready to face it. Guided by the lessons she had imparted and the awareness he had, cultivated, the fox-like girl had given him something far greater than safety. She had given him the tools to understand life itself, the importance of attention, patience, and careful choices. And as he continued his journey, he knew that the impact of her guidance would stay with him forever, shaping every step he took and every decision he made. Life after that night was no longer the same for him. The lessons the fox-like girl had taught him had taken root in his mind and heart, and he began to see the world differently. Every day was no longer routine or accidental. It was full of subtle signs, opportunities, and moments that demanded awareness. He had learned that life could change in a single instant, and that each choice mattered more than he had ever imagined. The first change he noticed was in himself. He was calmer, more patient, and more thoughtful in his actions. Where once he had rushed through tasks, ignoring details and making careless mistakes, now he approached everything deliberately. He noticed the weather, the sounds of the city, and the smallest movements of people around him. It was as if the world had become alive, and he could see patterns that had always existed, but were invisible before. He also began noticing the emotional impact of his actions. A smile to a stranger, a helping hand to someone struggling, or even simple kindness in words began to feel more meaningful. He realized that the fox-like girl had not only taught him to survive physically, but to be aware emotionally, socially, and morally. The world was fragile, and small actions could have profound effects. He wanted to be someone who could make a positive difference, even in tiny ways. Work became easier too. He could focus more clearly, plan his actions better, and avoid mistakes he would have made before. He found that decisions he had struggled with previously now seemed simpler, almost as if he could anticipate outcomes more accurately. He realized that this was a gift from the lessons she had taught him. Attention, patience, and awareness were tools he could apply anywhere, despite all these changes. He never forgot the first night, the moment she had saved him. He could still feel the weight of fear, the sudden rush of panic as he fell, and the impossible calm that had surrounded him when she appeared. That memory was no longer terrifying. It was a reminder, a lesson, and a source of strength. It reminded him that life could be unpredictable, but with awareness and care, he could navigate it safely. One evening, months after that first encounter, he returned to the path again. It was quiet, the sun low in the sky, casting long shadows across the stones. He walked slowly, remembering the first night, the dreams and the lessons she had imparted. He wondered if he would ever see her again, but deep down he knew it did not matter. The most important part was what she had taught him and how he had changed as he walked. He noticed small signs that he had learned to recognize: the way leaves shifted in the wind, patterns in the clouds, and subtle movements in the shadows. It felt as if she was still there, not physically, but in the lessons, guidance, and awareness she had left behind. He smiled, realizing that her presence would always be with him, even if he never saw her again. Over time, he began sharing his story quietly with people he trusted. He did not exaggerate or embellish. He simply spoke of the night he had almost fallen, the mysterious girl who had saved him, and the lessons he had learned. Some people did not believe him, of course, but others listened carefully. He noticed that even when they doubted the events, the message of awareness, second chances, and careful choices resonated with them. In this way, her influence extended beyond just his own life. He also began to help people more actively, not in flashy or dramatic ways, but in quiet, thoughtful acts, guiding someone away from danger, listening when someone needed support, or paying attention to small needs that others overlooked. Each action reminded him of her teachings, of the importance of noticing and responding, and of the impact a single choice could have. Over time, the fear and uncertainty that had once dominated his life disappeared almost completely. He no longer walked through life blindly. He approached each day with awareness, patience, and a sense of responsibility. He realized that the girl's magic had not been about saving him from falling physically, but about saving him from living carelessly, without attention or purpose. As the years passed, he carried her lessons with him everywhere. They shaped his career, his relationships, and his personal growth. He became someone who noticed the invisible, who acted with thought and care, and who understood that life could be changed by small, deliberate actions. Every time he faced challenges, he remembered her words, "Trust your instincts, notice the signs, and make choices carefully." He also understood that her guidance was a gift not meant to be taken for granted. Life had given him a second chance, but it was his responsibility to use it wisely. He could not rely on her appearing again. He had to apply what he had learned independently. This realization gave him strength and confidence. He was no longer helpless or lost. He was capable, aware, and prepared to face the world. Even simple moments carried new meaning. A walk through the park, a conversation with a friend, or a quiet evening at home, all became opportunities to notice, reflect, and grow. He found joy in these moments, understanding that life's magic was not always dramatic or visible, but existed in subtle, persistent ways. One night, as he walked the path where it all began, he noticed something remarkable. A single orange leaf rested on the ground, perfectly shaped and positioned in a way that seemed deliberate. He smiled, recognizing it as a quiet reminder of her presence, her guidance, and the lessons she had left behind. It was as if she was telling him that he had understood, that he had learned, and that he was ready to continue on his own. He realized that his life had been transformed completely. From a person filled with fear, confusion, and helplessness, he had become someone strong, aware, and capable of making choices that mattered. The fox-like girl had saved him physically once, but her true gift was teaching him how to live fully, responsibly, and thoughtfully. In the months and years that followed, he continued to walk the path, sometimes alone, sometimes with friends who had begun to notice the small miracles and lessons in life as well. He carried her teachings into every aspect of his life, understanding that the world was full of guidance, both visible and invisible, and that the smallest choices could shape the future in profound ways. Looking back, he understood that everything, his near fall, her sudden appearance, the lessons, and the dreams had been part of a single, transformative journey. Life had given him a second chance, and he had used it not just to survive, but to grow, to learn, and to notice what others might miss. He never forgot her, the fox-like girl who had appeared when he needed her most. Her presence, guidance, and lessons remained with him, quiet but powerful, shaping his thoughts, actions, and choices. And even though she had disappeared, he knew that her influence would never leave him. She had given him the most important gift: awareness, purpose, and the courage to live fully. Finally, he understood that life itself was a path filled with dangers, choices, and opportunities. Some moments demanded awareness, others demanded courage, and some demanded patience. And he realized that, thanks to her, he was ready for all of it. Her magic had not been in her appearance, but in the lessons she had imparted, the awareness she had awakened, and the second chance she had given him. The man walked forward with quiet confidence, the lessons she had taught him guiding every step. Life would continue to test him, but he was prepared now. He had learned to see the invisible, to notice the small signs, and to act with thought and care. And he knew that no matter what happened, he carried her wisdom within him, a constant reminder that he had been saved for a reason, and that his life could make a difference. The path that had once been dangerous, uncertain, and lonely was now a place of growth, reflection, and discovery. Every step he took was deliberate, every choice meaningful, and every moment precious. He had been given a second chance, and he had learned to live fully, guided by lessons he would carry for the rest of his life. And though she would never appear again in the same way, he felt her presence everywhere in the wind, the trees, the subtle signs that life offered, and in the strength and awareness he now carried. Her magic had not ended. It had become a part of him. And that realization, more than anything, made his life truly unbelievable.